Clytemnestra, also spelled Clytaemnestra, in ancient Greek legend, was the wife of Agamemnon, ruler of the ancient Greek kingdom of Mycenae or Argos. In the Oresteia by Aeschylus, she murdered her husband, Agamemnon said by Euripides to be her second husband and the Trojan princess Cassandra, whom he had taken as war prize following the sack of Troy. However, in Homer's Odyssey, her role in Agamemnon's death is unclear and her character is significantly more subdued. The name form is I plus or minus I to the first I 1/4 I 1/2 I registered trademark I florin I plus or minus is commonly glossed as famed for her suitors. However, this form is a later misreading motivated by an erroneous etymological connection to the verb I 1/4 I 1/2 I oi 1/4 I plus or minus I to the first woo, court. The original name form is believed to have been I plus or minus I to the first I 1/4 I registered trademark I florin I plus or minus, without the mn, and the modern form with mn does not occur before the Middle Byzantine period. Aeschylus, in certain wordplays on her name, appears to assume an etymological link with the verb I 1/4 I registered trademark I oi 1/4 I plus or minus I to the first, scheme, contrive. Background: Clytemnestra was the daughter of Tyndareus and Leda, the king and queen of Sparta. According to the myth, Zeus appeared to Leda in the form of a swan, seducing and impregnating her. Leda produced 4 offspring from 2 eggs, Castor and Clytemnestra from 1 egg, and Helen and Polydeuces from the other. Therefore, Castor and Clytemnestra were fathered by Tyndareus, whereas Helen and Polydeuces were fathered by Zeus. Agamemnon and his brother Menelaus were in exile at the home of Tyndareus and in due time married his wife Leda's 2 daughters. Agamemnon married Clytemnestra who was her daughter by Tyndareus, Menelaus married Helen who was her daughter by Zeus. In a late variation, Euripides' Iphigenia at Aulis, Clytemnestra's first husband was Tantalus, king of Pisa. Agamemnon kills him and his infant son, then made Clytemnestra his wife. In another version, her first husband was king of Lydia, which was known to the Greeks for its shrine of the laborers, the double-bladed axe that some say Clytemnestra used to kill Agamemnon. Mythology: after Helen went from Sparta to Troy, her husband, Menelaus, asked his brother Agamemnon for help. Greek forces gathered at Aulis. However, consistently weak winds prevented the fleet from sailing. Through a subplot involving the gods and omens, the priest Calchas said the winds would be favorable if Agamemnon sacrificed his daughter Iphigenia to the goddess Artemis. Agamemnon persuaded Clytemnestra to send Iphigenia to him, telling her he was going to marry her to Achilles. When Iphigenia arrived at Aulis, she was sacrificed, the winds turned, and the troops set sail for Troy. The Trojan War lasted 10 years. During this period of Agamemnon's long absence, Clytemnestra began a love affair with Aegisthus, her husband's cousin. Whether Clytemnestra was seduced into the affair or entered into it independently differs according to the respective author of the myth. Nevertheless, Clytemnestra and Aegisthus began plotting Agamemnon's demise. Clytemnestra was enraged by Iphigenia's murder. Aegisthus saw his father Thyestes betrayed by Agamemnon's father Atreus. In old versions of the story, on returning from Troy, Agamemnon is murdered by Aegisthus, the lover of his wife, Clytemnestra. In some later versions Clytemnestra helps him or does the killing herself in his own home. The best-known version is that of Aeschylus. Agamemnon, having arrived at his palace with his concubine, the Trojan princess Cassandra, in tow and being greeted by his wife, entered the palace for a banquet while Cassandra remained in the chariot. Clytemnestra waited until he was in the bath, and then entangled him in a cloth net and stabbed him. Trapped in the web, Agamemnon could neither escape nor resist his murderer. Meanwhile, Cassandra saw a vision of herself and Agamemnon being murdered. Her attempts to elicit help failed. She realized she was fated to die, and resolutely walked into the palace to receive her death. After the murders, Aegisthus replaced Agamemnon as king and ruled for 7 years with Clytemnestra as his queen. In some traditions they have 3 children, a son Aletes, and daughters Erigone and Helen. Clytemnestra was eventually killed by her and Agamemnon's son Orestes. the infant Helen is also killed. Alet's and Eragon grow up at Mycenae, but when Alet's comes of age, Orestes returns from Sparta, kills his half-brother, and takes the throne. Orestes and Eragon are said to have had a son, Pentheus. Appearance in later works, she is one of the main characters in Aeschylus's Oresteia, and is central to the plot of all three parts. She murders Agamemnon in the first play, and is murdered herself in the second. Her death then leads to the trial of Orestes by a jury composed of Athena and 11 Athenians in the final play. The American modern dancer and choreographer Martha Graham created a 2-hour ballet, Clytemnestra, about the Queen. Most recently, playwright and actor Corey Allen wrote a contemporary adaptation of Aeschylus' earlier work entitled Clytemnestra. The story has also been adapted into an opera. Cromwell Evison, a South African composer, wrote the first Afrikaans opera, Clytaemnestra, in 1967. It is an opera in 4 acts and premiered on November 7, 1967, in Byzantine Hall, Worcester, Western Cape, South Africa. Prince Samuel composed a 1994 work for voice and ensemble adapting Aeschylus' work from Clytemnestra's viewpoint. John Eaton composed an opera in 1 act entitled The Cry of Clytemnestra, recounting the events leading up to and including Clytemnestra's murder of Agamemnon. She is a character in Jean-Paul Sartre's play The Flies. References: Servius. In Aeneida, Xi 267.